The death of Saul and his sons. Now the Philistines fought against Israel, and the men of Israel fled from the Philistines and fell slain on Mount Gilboa. Then the Philistines followed hard after Saul and his sons, and the Philistines killed the sons of Saul, Jonathan, Abinadab, and Melchishua. The battle became fierce against Saul, and he was wounded by the archers who struck him. Then Saul said to his armor bearer, "Draw your sword and pierce me through with it, lest these uncircumcised men come and dishonor me." But his armor bearer would not, for he was greatly afraid. Therefore Saul took his sword and fell on it. And when his armor bearer saw Saul was dead, he also fell on his sword and died. So Saul and his 3 sons died, and all his house died together. And when all the men of Israel who were in the valley saw that they had fled, that Saul and his sons were dead, and that they left their cities fleeing, then the Philistines came and dwelt in them. So it happened the next day, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, they found Saul and his sons dead on Mount Gilboa. They stripped him and took his head and his armor, and sent word throughout the land of the Philistines to proclaim the news in the temple of their idols and among the people. Then they put his armor in the temple of their gods and fastened his head to the temple of Dagon. And when all Jabesh Gilead heard what the Philistines did to Saul, all the valiant men arose from Gilead and took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons back with them to Jabesh. They buried their bones under the oak tree at Jabesh and fasted 7 days. So Saul died for his lawlessness, which he committed against the Lord, according to the word of the Lord, because he did not keep it, and because Saul sought the counsel of a wizard, and Samuel the prophet answered him. So he slew him and turned the kingdom over to David, the son of Jesse. David is king of all Israel. Then all Israel came to David at Hebron, saying, "Indeed, we are your bone and your flesh. Also, in time past, even when Saul was king, it was you who led Israel in and out. And the Lord your God said to you, You shall feed my people Israel and be ruler over Israel." Therefore, all the elders of Israel came to the king at Hebron, and David made a covenant with them at Hebron before the Lord. And they anointed David king over Israel, according to the word of the Lord by Samuel. And the king and all Israel went to Jerusalem. This is Jebu. And there the Jebusites were inhabiting the land. And the people inhabiting Jebu said to David, "You shall not enter here." But he seized the stronghold of Mount Zion, which is the city of David. And David said, "Whoever first strikes the Jebusites shall be chief and captain." And Joab, the son of Zeruiah, went up and became chief. Then David dwelt in the stronghold. Thereafter he called it the city of David, and he waged war and took the city. Around it he fortified the city. So David grew ever stronger, and the Lord Almighty was with him. David's mighty men. Now, these were the heads of the mighty men whom David had with him, who strengthened themselves in his kingdom with all Israel to make him king, according to the word of the Lord regarding Israel. And this is the number of the mighty men whom David had. Jeshobim, the son of Hachmonite, the chief of the captains, he lifted up his spear against 300 and killed them at one time. After him was Eleazar, the son of Dodo, the Ahoite, who was one of the 3 mighty men. He was with David at Pestamim, and the Philistines gathered there for battle, near a field full of barley. And the people fled from the sight of the Philistines. And he stood in the midst of the field and preserved it and killed the Philistines. The Lord brought about a great deliverance. Now, 3 of the 30 chief men went down to the rock towards David, to the cave of Adullam. The encampment of the Philistines was set there in the valley, was set up in the valley of Rephaim. David was then in the stronghold, and the garrison of the Philistines was then in Bethlehem. And David said with longing, "Oh, that someone would give me a drink of water from the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate. So the three broke through the camp of the Philistines, drew water from the well of Bethlehem by the gate, and took it and brought some to David. Nevertheless, David did not drink it, but poured it out to the Lord. And he said, God, be merciful to me. Should I do what was spoken? Shall I drink the blood of these men with their lives? For they brought it with their lives in peril. Therefore, he was not willing to drink it. The three mighty men did these things. Abishai, the brother of Joab, was chief of another three. He had lifted up his spear against 300 men, killed them, and won a name among these three. Of the three, he was more favored than the other two men, who was chief over them. But of three men, he did not go. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man from Kabzeel, who had done many deeds. He had killed 2 ruffians of Moab. He had gone down and killed a lion in the midst of a pit on a snowy day, and he killed an Egyptian, a man of great height, 5 cubits tall. In the hand of the Egyptian there was a spear like a weaver's beam. And he went down to him with a staff, snatched the spear out of the Egyptian's hand, and killed him with his own spear. These things Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, did, and one name among the three mighty men. Indeed, he was honored more than this 30, but he did not attain to the first 3. And David appointed him over his family. And the mighty warriors were Eshel, brother of Joab, Elhanan, the son of Dodo of Bethlehem, Shemath, the Harorite, Helez, the Pelonite, Ira, the son of Akish, the Tekoite, Ebezer, the Anatothite, Shibekai, the Hushathite, Eli, the Ahoite, Maharai, the Netophathite, Heled, the son of Bani, the Netophathite, Itiah, the son of Ribia of Gibeah, of the sons of Benjamin, Benaniah, the Parathonite, Harai, the books of Gash, Ebiel, the Arabathite, Azimeth, the Beharamite, Ilhaba, Eliba, the Shelbanite, the sons of Hashem, the Gizonite, Jonathan, the son of Shigeh, the Hararite, Ahiam, the son of Sakar, the Harite, Eliphal, the son of Ur, Hefer, the Mechirite, Ahijah, the Pelonite, Hezro, the Carmelite, Nerai, the son of Ezbai, Joel, the brother of Nathan, Mibhar, the son of Hagri, Zilek, the Ammonite, Nahari, the Berothite, the armor bearer, Joab, son of Zuriah, Ira, the Ithrite, Garib, the Ithrite, Uriah, the Hittite, Zabad, the son of Ali, Adina, the son of Shiza, the Reubenite, a chief of the Reubenites, and 30 with him. Hanan, the son of Makai, Jehoshaphat, the Mithnite, Uzziah, the Ashtorethite, Shema, and Jaleel, the sons of Hotham, the Ararite, Jediel, the son of Shimri, and Joha, his brother, the Tizite, Eliel, the Mahavite, Jerubai, and Josephiah, the sons of Ilnam, Ithma, the Moabite, Eli, Obed, and Jeziel, the Mesobite. David's army expands. Now these were the men who came to David at Ziklag, who, while he was still a fugitive from Saul, the son of Kish. They were among the mighty men, helpers in the war, being armed with bows for shooting, arrows, and using either the right hand or the left by slinging stones. They were of Benjamin, Saul's brethren. The chief were Ahiezer, then Joash, the sons of Shema, the Gibeathite, Jeziel and Pelet, the sons of Azmaveth, Berechiah, the Jehu, the son, the Anathothite, Ismaiah, the Gibeonite, a mighty man among the 30, and over the 30, Jeremiah, Jehaziel, Jehonai, and Jozabad, the Gederathite, Eluzai, Jerimoth, Beliah, Shemariah, and Shephatiah, the Huraphite, Elkanah, Josiah, Azarel, Jozer, and Jashubim, the Korathites, and Juliel and Zebediah, the sons of Jeroham of Gedor. Some Gadites joined David in the wilderness, strong, mighty men of war, men trained for battle, who could handle shield and spear, whose faces were like the faces of the lions, and who were as swift as gazelles on the mountains. Ezer the first, Obadiah the second, Eliab the third, Mishmana the fourth, Jeremiah the fifth, Attai the sixth, Eliel the seventh, Johanan the eighth, Elzabab the ninth, Jeremiah the 10th, and Machbanai the 11th. These were from the sons of Gad, the captains of the army. The least was over 100, and the greatest was over 1,000. These are the ones who crossed the Jordan in the first month, when it had overflowed all its banks, and they put to flight all those in the valleys, to the east and to the west. Then some of the sons of Benjamin and Judah came to aid David at the stronghold. David went out and met them, and addressed them by saying, "If you have to come peaceably to me to help me, in my heart will you be united with you. But if you to betray me, if to betray me to my enemies, since there is no guile in my hands, may the God of our fathers observe and bring judgment." And a spirit came upon Amasai, a captain to the 30, and he said, "Go, you and your people, David, son of Jesse, peace be to you, and peace to your helpers, for your God has helped you." And David received them and made them captains of the forces. And some from Manasseh defected to David when he was going with the Philistines to battle against Saul, but they did not help them, for the lords of the Philistines sent them away by agreement. He may defect to his master Saul and endanger our heads. When he went to Ziklag, those of Manasseh who defected to him were Adnah, Jozabad, Jediel, Michael, Jozabad, Elihu, and Zilithai, captains of the thousands who were from Manasseh, and they helped David against the bands of raiders, for they were all mighty men of valor, and they were captains in the army. For at that time they came to David day by day to help him, until it was a great army, like the army of God. Notes from the previous page. 10:1 through 13. Genealogy ends, and the history of Israel continues with a brief description of Saul's defeat and the death at the hands of the Philistines. The Philistines think they have won with the victory against Israel by displaying Saul's head in their idolatrous temple. Similarly, when Christ descends into hell, the devil will think he has won, when in fact he has lost. 11:1 through 9. Recognizing David as the true deliverer and king, the people witness him anointed king. This event is described as being according to the word of the Lord, showing that they are at last choosing the better way. 11:4 through 9. These events foreshadow the establishment of the Church of Christ, which is Mount Zion, the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem. Hebrews 12:22. 11:9 through 10. David grew stronger because he was not alone. The Lord Almighty and his mighty men were with him. 11:15 through 19. In this account, David represents all mankind. The powers of darkness, represented by the Philistines, hold the world captive. David's longing is like the thirsty soul that cries out for God. As always, water symbolizes baptism from death into life through the living water. That is the Holy Spirit whom Christ sends. John 7:37 through 39. 11:20 through 12:29. David's mighty warriors are earthly types of angelic hosts who lead the battle against the powers of darkness. Dan 4:35. 12:1. 12:1. David's soldiers, helpers in the war, symbolize the church in battle, a force against which the gates of hell shall not prevail. Matthew 16:18. See also Ephesians 6:10 through 18. The soldiers at Hebron. The soldiers at Hebron. Now, these were the numbers of the divisions that were equipped for war and that came to David at Hebron to turn the kingdom of Saul over to him, according to the word of the Lord. Of the sons of Judah, bearing shield and spear, 6,800 armed for war. Of the sons of Simeon, mighty men of valor, fit for war, 7,100. Of the sons of Levi, 4,600. Jehoiada, the leader of the Aaronites, and with him 3,700. Zadok, a young man, a valiant warrior, and from his father's house, 22 captains of the sons of Benjamin, relatives of Saul, 3,000. Until then, the greatest part of them had remained loyal to the house of Saul, of the sons of Ephraim. 20,800 mighty men of valor, noted men throughout the house of their fathers, of the half tribe of Manasseh. 18,000 who were designated by the name to come and make David king, of the sons of Issachar, who had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do. Their chiefs were 200, and all their brethren were at their command. Of Zebulun, there were 50,000 who went out to battle, expert in war with all weapons of war, stout-hearted men who could keep ranks. Of Naphtali, 1,000 captains, and with them 37,000 with shield and spear. Of the Danites, who could keep battle formation, 28,600. Of Asher, those who could go out to war, able to keep battle formation, 40,000. Of the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh from the other side of the Jordan, 120,000, armed for battle with every kind of weapon of war. All these men of war who could keep ranks came to Hebron with a loyal heart to make David king over all Israel, and all the rest of Israel were of one mind to make David king. All these men of war who could keep ranks in the peaceful spirit came to Hebron to make David king over all Israel, and they were with David 3 days, eating and drinking, for their brethren had prepared them. Moreover, those who were near them from far away, as Issachar and Zebulun and Naphtali, were bringing food on the donkeys and the camels, on mules and oxen, provisions of flour, cake, or of figs, cakes of figs, cakes of raisins, wine, oil, and oxen and sheep abundantly. For there was joy in Israel. The ark is moved from Kirjath Jearim. Then David consulted with the captains of the thousands and hundreds, with every leader. And David said to all the assembly of Israel, if it is of the Lord our God, and it seems good to you, let us send our brethren remaining in all of Israel, and to the priests, the Levites, who are with them in the cities of their possession, so they may gather together with us. And let us bring back the ark of our God back to us. And we have sought it since the days of Saul. Then all the assembly said they would do so, for this thing was right in the eyes of all the people. So David summoned an assembly of all Israel from the boundaries of Egypt to as far as the entrance of Hamath, to carry in the ark of God from the city of Kirjath Jearim. David brought it up, and all Israel went up to the city of David, which belonged to Judah, to bring up the ark of God, the Lord, who rests between the cherubim, whose name is proclaimed by it. So they carried the ark of God on a new cart from the house of Aminadab. Uzzah and his brothers drove the cart. Then David and all Israel played music before God with all their strength, with singing, on harps, on stringed instruments, on tambourines, on cymbals, and with trumpets. And when they came to the threshing floor of Chidon, Uzzah put out his hand to hold the ark, because the oxen stumbled. Then the anger of the Lord was aroused against Uzzah, and he struck him because he put his hand upon the ark. He died there before God. And David became disheartened regarding the Lord's action against Uzzah, and called that place Perez Uzzah until this day. David was afraid of God that day, saying, how shall I bring the ark of the God home by myself? So David would not move the ark by himself into the city of David, but had it taken aside into the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. The ark of God remained with the family of Obed-Edom in his house 3 months, and the Lord blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all he had. David prospers as king. Now Hiram, the king of Tyre, sent to David messengers. Cedar trees, masons. David prospers as king. Now Hiram, king of Tyre, sent to David messengers, cedar trees, masons, and carpenters to build him a house. So David knew the Lord had established him as king over Israel, for his kingdom was highly exalted for the sake of his people Israel. Then David took more wives in Jerusalem, and David begot more sons and daughters. And these are the names of his children, whom he had in Jerusalem: Shemua, Shobab, Nathan, Solomon, Ebhar, Elishua, Elpalet, Noga, Nepheg, Japhia, Elishama, Beliada, and Elphalet. Let's see. Okay, so notes from this page. 1239. Israel had a loyal heart to make David king. The same is true among the faithful in the church, as the Apostle Paul writes, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Philippians 2:2. 1241. Issachar, Zebulun, and Naphtali refer to the areas where the light of Christ is revealed to those who walked in darkness. Isaiah 9:1 and 2. 13:1 through 8. In the Orthodox Church, the Ark of God is seen as a type of the Virgin Mary, also called the Theotokos, the God-bearer, because she gave birth to the Son of God. Just as David and the people honor the Ark with singing, so Christ and his church honor the Mother of God with hymns of love and devotion. More honorable than the cherubim and more glorious beyond compare than the seraphim. Without defilement you gave birth to God, the Word. True Theotokos, we magnify you. On the feast of the day of the entrance of the Theotokos, into the temple, the faithful singing, as you are the living temple of God, let no impure hand touch you, O Theotokos. 14:1 and 2. Hiram, king of Tyre, is the first foreign ruler to support David, then fight him. He may be seen as a prefiguring the Gentile believers who will help build a house. See the notes at 3 Kings 5:29.